You can still hear me, aye?
Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Yep, it is. Yeah.
So here we go, everyone. We are back with the newest episode of Irish Iron. Today's guest is the Shredder, Brian Ward, from up in the north. So whereabouts? Brian and me first met at the PCA Irish Open, where Brian won the overall. And then he went on to do the NABBA Worlds, and he placed fourth there, was
Yep.
it? Fourth.
Fourth,
And
yeah.
he was pretty much set to go on into 2020, but he had a freak accident where he tore both his. What did you exactly do? So
So basically I tore both patella tendons, which basically connects the kneecap to the shin bone. So basically the two kneecaps just snapped and just came up the quads, completely no connection, tore to shreds. One of the worst injuries you could ever think of happening, it was crazy.
how did you
Crazy.
do it? It obviously wasn't in the gym, like it was outside of the gym.
Oh, so as I say, so we did the three shows back to back, which all went well. Everything was flying. You were just on a really big high,
Mm.
and we had a holiday booked a week after the Worlds. So you were basically going on holidays, and you were completely shredded. So it couldn't have came at a better time. All inclusive holiday, all that food. It was just like heaven. I was just in heaven. So it was really, really good. Post show, on holidays, all inclusive. Everybody will understand when you're dying for a show for so long. So basically, I was dying for probably 6 months at this stage. And how the injury actually happened, me and my wee boy, he was only 6. We were actually playing football. Because it's an all-inclusive hotel. You know the way they do the entertainment and stuff.
Yeah.
So one of the gears was saying, "Oh, there's a wee football match on. Everybody can come up and join in." And he's crazy into football, so I thought, right, let's do it. Let's give it a go. So I thought it would have been maybe just a wee bit of passing, a wee bit of shooting, but it turned out it was a full-on match, and it started off friendly enough. But as the match went on, and obviously I'm competitive myself, so I was probably getting a wee bit too rough as well. And one guy, I was kind of running with the ball, and one guy came from the side and hit me. And when he hit me, my two knees hit off the AstroTurf pitch, and they just snapped. And I just knew straight away. I said, Brian, what did you do here, man? You've wrecked yourself. It was literally like two elastic bands snapping. You could hear that, and I was just kind of lying there. And the thing was, you couldn't move my legs. My legs was completely gone. It was like someone was like put a taser gun. That's the only way I could describe it. It was like someone put a taser gun to your legs, and they were just completely. And I looked down, and my kneecap was like nearly up at my hip. I was just going like, "Oh, what did you do, man?" And the first thing actually came into my mind was, "Man, you're done. You're finished." Like, because obviously competing was fresh in my head, and after having a good season, there was big plans for an off season and where I was going to go from there. And it was all just coming crashing down like big time at that point. Like, it was all just kind of going through my mind. I was even thinking, I'm all right. I was just thinking, I'm done. That's me. It's over. Like, but it was crazy, man.
I mean, the thing with you is you didn't stop with the social media. You kept posting. I mean, like you from the very beginning. I remember like you had your knees bandaged up and you were walking on crutches and stuff. And a lot of people would have just it would have stopped. I mean, did you think it was important for people to see what it takes to, overcome something so, it's a drastic lifestyle change for whatever amount of time,
It was one of them ones. The injury was that severe. It's hard to explain how bad it was. Obviously, we were in Portugal at the time.
Yeah.
And it was 10 days all inclusive holiday. So this was on the 6th day. This happened. So basically, I had to get in an ambulance. Nobody was allowed to come. Nobody even spoke English in the ambulance, and it was just boom. And they says, "Oh, we'll take you 15 minutes away. You'll only be 15 minutes away." So I thought, right, it's not too bad.
Yeah.
I was driving for an hour and a half in that ambulance. Just sirens on, just lying there, and I couldn't move my legs at all. And I was starting to panic a wee bit, thinking, "Jesus, what's going on?" And obviously that day too, you know, because of the heat, I was dehydrated a lot too. Like, you know, I was just thinking to myself, it was pure survival mode at that stage, you know, because there was obviously a lot of trauma to the body. I got to that Portuguese hospital, and I'm telling you, man, see the hospitals here, they're like 5-star hotels compared to this place that I was put into. It was crazy, and it was a crazy eye opener. The doctors, they X-rayed and stuff, and they just said to me, "Listen, you have to go home. You have to go home for surgery." I was like, "Fucking hell," because the ambulance driver originally kind of told me, he just kept going, dislocated. So I was like, okay, not too bad. They'll just pop them back in. But I knew in my head it was a lot worse than that, you know. So basically, I had to get a flight the next day back to Belfast. They'd be taken down the road just to get into hospital for surgery. So the family had to stay on out because, you know, there was no flights. Very hard to get on a flight. And I was very, very lucky because one of the guys actually was on my team at the time. He worked for Aer Lingus. He was a manager, so he was able to get me on a flight under his name the next day and got me back home, which basically meant, you see, the big thing too with tendons, if you snap your tendons, you have a limited time where you have to get surgery. So if you don't get them fast, then they can just they can go to mush, and they're very, very hard to reattach. So basically I got back, and then within 3 days I got the surgery. And then obviously the rest of the family had flown home by then as well. So when I was coming out of surgery for the first time, they were actually just home from Belfast, from the holiday, waiting for me. So it all timed out very good. It was just crazy. But it kind of took, obviously with all the painkillers and different things, it kind of took you a few days to get your thinking back and stuff. And then I just said, obviously sat down with Rachel and just says, look, I'm gonna make sure this is not over. Like, because the surgeon told me, he said, the surgery was a success. We've reattached the tendons, and there's no reason why in a year's time or whatever they should come back. So I thought to myself, well, he's not telling me I'm done. He's telling me there is still a chance. So I always wanted to kind of document it along the way to kind of show people too that it can be done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because a lot of people would just throw the head, and for me that wasn't an option from day one. I just thought, there's no way I've came this far, and I just feel that I've got more to give, if you know what I mean. It's not over. So that's what kept me fueled in my head. I just thought, no negative thoughts. I thought, one day at a time, and we'll just see where it goes. So that's basically what I've done until this day. I haven't looked too far in front of me, and I haven't dwelled on it. I've just took a day at a time and tried to do the best I can, and it's working. It's working.
Yeah, I mean, I think the main thing with the injury that you had was it was because it was two full tears of the tendons.
Yeah.
It's easier to, well, it's not easy to rehab it in any situation, but in a case where it's a partial tear, I know if they think it's strong enough, they'll leave it.
They'll leave it.
They'll stay and everything. I mean, so I'd rather if I was given the option to have surgery, I would have surgery because it's going to be stronger again. So it's just a matter of time. But in terms of full functionality, I mean, your legs are pretty much, they're close enough to what they were or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. So the thing is, with a partial tear, if they don't operate, you're always going to have that weakness. You know, you're going to have probably tendonitis. Well, how are you ever going to be able to lift heavy again? You know, it'll always be there. Whereas because they were snapped completely, they were surgically reattached.
Yeah.
So you think about it, they basically drill your kneecap and they like tie it on. They just literally tie the tendon back on. It's rough and ready, like, you know. But as I say, because I've done two as well, some people say, you know, oh, that's horrible, severe. But from a bodybuilding perspective, if I had have just torn one, where would you get that balance again? You would never get that balance back, you know. So, in a way, it worked out all right. It worked all right. But the legs now, I think, the way they are, obviously, I put pictures up there last night after a push session, and you can look at the legs. The balance is coming again.
Yeah.
So I think the legs aren't far away from where they were when I started prep last time.
No.
So and obviously I'm holding better condition and stuff there. The detail. See, the big one was no, there's no deformation in the muscle.
Yeah.
So the lines is there, the details there. It's just a matter of getting that thickness again.
Yeah.
But again, it'll come with time.
I mean, is that from certain movements, do you think, that you weren't able to do, like like heavy squats, or what kind of training would you generally do? Like, I mean, you're up in you're up in
Pro
Pro
gym,
Gym,
yep.
Derry.
Yep. Yeah, pro gym, yep.
Yeah, that's Dave Fox's setup.
Yeah.
That's a hardcore gym. I've heard fairly good things about it.
Yeah.
So in there, I'm sure there's plenty of kit that you didn't have to do anything that didn't suit your body at the time.
Exactly. Pro gym's one of them gyms. It's just you don't realize how good it is until you go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Now, when you're in there, the range of equipment for legs and back, obviously, like say for like a push session or a chest session, shoulders, you can get away with dumbbells nearly in any gym or whatever. But good back equipment and good leg equipment is hard to come by. You see these gyms and they all look the part, but until you try their equipment out, it
Yeah.
just doesn't have the right angles or it doesn't have the right curve, to hit the muscle the way you want it. So Pro Gym just has, obviously Dave's in the game, I'd say he must be 30 years. So he's handpicked everything.
Yeah.
And it was all designed to basically around his competing. So if you can't build a physique in there, you may take up golf or something. But basically, from an early stage, even before the injury, see like heavy squats. I used to, whenever I was a lot smaller, back when I started, I would have been very, very strong in squats and stuff. I would have maybe done like a five plates a side squat and stuff. But when you looked at the legs, the muscle didn't reflect the strength.
Yeah.
And then as I got a wee bit older, I started getting niggles on my hips and stuff. And I quickly realized that I'm not going to be one of the person that's going to be doing big, massive, heavy squats. Like the hack squat suits me a lot better. The leg press suits me a lot better because you're taking that hinge movement out of it. I can build my legs. I can concentrate more on the quads from the hack squat. Whereas when I go back to free squats again, I tend to get injured, and it's probably a mobility thing that I need to work on. But it's basically the hip. I've tight hip flexors, and I just find that there's less risk in the hack squat, and you get the same benefit. So I tend to kind of stick. I'll stick with the hack squat. I'll stick with leg press for the main compounds for quads.
Yeah. No, I'd be the exact same. I mean, I can squat for days, absolutely. But I find it's like if you can't do a squat properly anyway, you're
Yeah.
not going to be, allowing leg growth to happen in the first place. So I'd always like that shows, because I mean, like you get a lot of younger competitors and they'd be stubborn.
Yeah.
They'd want to do what makes them feel better, but it doesn't necessarily reflect in physique. But in terms of your training, when you got into bodybuilding, did you have any mentors or anything, or how did you get started into the scene? Were you sporty, or was there?
Yeah, so basically I came up through football. So football, I was always playing football, and Latter was a little wee skinny. It was like a stick, really, really skinny. And basically how I started was I literally got a few weights at the house. They basically built myself up for the football. And I played football day. I was about 21. As I say, weights wise, gym wise, I wasn't at a gym. I was just like at the house, with a wee bench, a few dumbbells, putting the Rocky music on, had the Rocky music on, doing the punch bag, stuff like that there. It was just crazy stuff. You didn't have a clue what you were doing, but it was great at the time. But when I was 21 then, I'd basically torn ligaments on my ankle 3 times at that stage. So every time I was playing football, my ankle would give way and it kept tearing. So I thought to myself, this is enough. I have to pull the pin. So once I stopped the football, I basically started the gym full time then. But I remember a guy I worked with, he was a rugby player, and he took me down and he put me through a full week's training. And the following week I had to take off work. I was that bad. I had to lie in bed. Muscles was tore off me. Couldn't even move. I was
Yeah.
that bad. And I thought, what the fuck? I'm not going back at that. But obviously, you wanted to get a wee bit stronger and stuff. And you can start to see the physique starting to change. So that was basically the start of it.
Mm.
And then bodybuilding wise, I don't think I really got it. It was one of these ones when I started at the start. It was probably more disco muscles. You were you were getting a pump on for the Saturday night. And that was it. Like, uh, but there was no thoughts of bodybuilding. So it kind of came in. I did my first show when I was 26, which was 2013.
Okay.
So probably 2 years prior to that, I started taking it a wee bit more serious.
Yeah.
Um, because if you looked at my physique when I was younger, it didn't resemble a bodybuilder. So there was no point in me even looking at that avenue, if you know what I mean. I was just kind of lifting weights to enjoy it. But then as I started to build up and get stronger, the physique started to change, and I thought, maybe I could do it.
Yeah.
You know, so did the first show in 2013, which was a local show. It was WABA at the time.
Yeah.
And it was a cracking show at the time. You know, the atmosphere was bouncing, the roof, the tunes was on. It was crazy place, like. And they always timed it. It was the day after NABBA, so there was a massive crowd there. And I just remember the crowd used to be packed, and they had the music up full blast. It was a good atmosphere, really really good atmosphere. Um, I went to, and I did that show, first timers, and won the first timers. So my first show, and won it. But I did that show. I had a few guys in the gym looking after me, but kind of taking a look at me. But I did the diet myself, so there was no. I didn't really know what I was doing. I was just kind of chipping away at food. There was no refeeds. There was no cheat meals. It was just every week cut a wee bit of food out,
Yeah.
and I was shredded. Like, you know, I wasn't big, but I was shredded. And obviously it was enough to win the show. So that was at the time. I probably thought to myself. I remember saying to myself, "Oh, I'm never doing that again. I'm never doing that again." But that was the whole way up. You know, I didn't know what to expect. It was the first show, so after then, obviously, I got the bug for it, and especially after winning. Once you won, then that feeling when you're standing up there, and then you get the food back in the next day, you forget how bad the diet was, and you're good to go again.
I mean, do you feel because you competed at 26,
Yeah,
do you think that was a late start? Or do you
that's
think
a
like, yeah,
that was a late start. See, looking back now, if I had started obviously as a junior,
hmm,
then you're probably looking, where would it be? You would be way ahead of where you are now, but it's just you have to take it as it comes. You know what I mean? It's everything kind of happens for a reason, I think. And I get into it at a late age, but I'm still fresh. Well, obviously not with injuries now, like, you know, but I feel fresh health wise.
yeah,
And only I feel the last couple of years, everything's really really clicked for me, in a
yeah,
sense where when I go into the gym, I can really just connect with that muscle too. It just seems it's all kind of clicking now, so I can seem to progress really really quickly now at the minute.
yeah.
Everything just seems to fall into place. And it only really started to happen the last 2 years. I've really kind of learned what my body needs, and how to basically progress at a quicker rate, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be of the opinion now, like, people's training age, you can start competing at 40, and theoretically you could compete until your 60s.
Yeah,
Um, I mean, the wear and tear is going to be different. So I do think that, in a sense, starting late puts you, um, it gives you an advantage over, you know, certain guys you'd be coming up with. I mean, they'd definitely be dropping off in their 30s, like with injuries and stuff like that. So in terms of your longevity, it's going to be a step further anyway. So it
yeah,
doesn't really make a difference. I mean, at the end of the day, the physique is always going to look a certain way, um, depending how long you've been at it.
yeah.
Um, that being said, you competed in 2013. Um, did you always stick with NABBA, or did you go into the IFBB affiliates?
I had I had a disaster. So it was 2013.
Okay,
2014, I was actually dieting down to go on holidays.
okay,
The stupidest thing you could ever. I was just dying so hard, and I actually caught an infection. So 2014, I was going to compete later that year, but I ended up in hospital with pericarditis. You call it? It's an infection around the heart, so it's the wee sac around the heart. It was just a viral infection, but obviously
right,
because I was dieting, my immune system was super low, and of course I caught the infection, ended up in hospital for a week, and
right.
so that ruled out that year. 2015, then I chanced my arm at the UK BFF, which would have been the IFBB qualifier,
Yeah,
the northern version. of the RIBBF basically.
Yeah.
And that show, obviously then, because that was my second show, and it's obviously weight classes, so I kind of had an idea I'll be under 90. So that was grand. We dieted down for it. And I was working my guy at the time, and I was absolutely, it was one of them ones I was absolutely peeled beyond belief. It was the hardest prep I've ever done. Even to this day, I was shredded, and it was so hard. The guy worked me really, really hard. And coming in the final week, now, you know the way you get people who say, "Oh, but I was looking class a week out and different things." Well, until I witnessed this firsthand, so we basically, everything was working perfectly. I came up the night before the show. I was weighing 86 kilo.
Mm.
And I mean, it was just a nice balance. You wouldn't have touched anything. We shouldn't have touched anything. And at this stage, we had a wee bit of aldactone in. So we had a wee bit of aldactone in. It was only like maybe 25 milligram. It was very, very small.
Yeah.
And the water was still on. So everything was looking bang on, perfect. And the night before the show, they gave me another diuretic, which was a half, I think. I can't remember which it was, but it had a wee bit of Lasix in it. And that was just game over. Woke up the next morning, weighed in for the show, 81 kilo. So that was 5 kg gone overnight. That was just a wipeout. And for me, that was a very, very hard one to swallow, because it was a 20-week prep. And for it to be just gone like that overnight was crazy. And at the time, I didn't have the knowledge to fix it in the morning. And to be honest, I should have probably just started drinking water and putting sodium back in, but I just didn't have that knowledge back then.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it should never have happened. We should never have took that extra wee bit. But again, I take it as a learning curve. It was a good learning curve, because I'll never make that mistake again. You know, I weighed in at 81 kilo, and I came fourth that show. So I still didn't come last, but the look compared to the night before was just day and night. It was terrible, and I was disgusted at myself. So after that, there was a couple of shows later that year, and people was telling me, just go on to them shows, and I was like, no, I'm not doing it. So I basically straight on the off season, and prep right around 2016 for the April shows, which would have been PCA. It was the very, very first PCA show in Ireland, and the NABBA was a week later. So made the move. At that time, I was training Extreme Gym. That was a gym in Derry as well, on the water side of Derry, and it was a good hardcore gym. But I was running on the 2016 shows, and there was nobody there with the experience, that you could really, really trust. So I made the move back to Pro Gym, and Big Dave Fox was there, basically to look after me. Ran on did the novice PCA, and won that. Now, I literally just, because NABBA was a week later, we didn't do any peak week, we didn't do any carb up, no water, no nothing. I just literally went on it as a training session. So we walked on the show, and what I liked about it was the condition was really, really good, and it was just all the details there, all the lines was there. We didn't cut water, we didn't carb up, and it was a really nice look. But obviously, you're going to be a wee bit flat. But it was enough anyway. We won the novice, which meant then we had to step up to class 2 a week later in the NABBA. So we went on the NABBA then, class 2 the week later. We carved up heavy. I put on about 7 pounds, and the look was just drastically different. Just looked a lot bigger. Possibly, maybe not as tight, but it was a class look. I loved it, and I won class 2 as well. So that was a good thing for me. We kind of redeemed the year before. It was on my head. I needed that confidence back, basically, to keep moving forward. You know what I mean? So 2 wins back to back. It was nice. So it was good to kind of come back after the terrible run of the year before.
Deadly, man, deadly. No, that's great, because I think, look, at the end of the day, I think the losses build you up. I mean, especially when you get a chance to learn about, water manipulation and all that kind of fun stuff. I mean, at least last year, 2 of the 4 shows, or at least 2 of the shows I did anyway, were messed up, because I did that. I did exactly what you just said. You looked okay going into it, and then you popped. I think it was I popped a half, or I think I popped I went overboard. I popped one Lasix in the evening, and then I popped one the next day, thinking in my head, okay, it's gonna be good. Didn't have a coach to tell me anything. So do you think working with a second eye, or not even a coach, but having somebody there to make sure you don't do too much of this or that? Do you think it's a very important, it's important
That's very,
environment?
very, like obviously I continued on and basically did the 2017 season myself as well. With just someone looking over you, but you were making the calls yourself. And after that season, I just thought to myself, I need to offload this. It was just too much stress. And the thing that I say to people is, how can you make accurate decisions on your physique when you're emotionally involved? So obviously, I'm making decisions for me. I'm looking at the mirror, and one minute I'm looking great. The next minute I'm looking, I'm thinking, oh, you look shit. You cannot make them decisions. You're not clear thinking. No matter, like I had a good knowledge and understanding of my body because obviously competed so many times. But for me, in that state where you're depleted down, you're not thinking clearly. Whereas someone else will stand back and they'll see the clear picture. Do you know what I mean? So that's whenever 2018, I basically offloaded my prep in on the giant, like Jamie Johal. And this was I kind of joined. I started with him for an off season,
Okay.
first before we went into the 2019 season. So the big thing for him was just kind of I seen him on YouTube or somewhere like that there, and I basically just started chatting to him. And he just talked sense. And see, especially regarding the peak week thing, the final week. Like that always for me, I was always doing a lot of research on that, and see to get that right. Everybody's just saying, "Ah, don't change too much," but don't change too much of what. That's it was just all. And then when it comes to that peak week, you're there, you're in the thick of it. So any wee decision you make, it could be the wrong one. So I thought I just need to get a wee bit more knowledge in this field, So I started on with him, and I'm still on with him to this day. Like I haven't looked back. So we did the 2019 season, and it was my best year yet. The stress, there was just no stress. I just did what he said. Obviously, in the final weeks and stuff, we bounced off each other quite a lot, but it all just came together perfectly. And to be honest, he didn't do anything out of the ordinary, but it was just all so simple, but it made sense, you know.
Yeah, no, I think Jamie Johal is no, I think he's phenomenal. Like every person I know, I have a friend now who's over in the UK. Before the virus, he was training in his gym up in Ilkingston. But I have an interesting question. Um, the Northern Irish scene has always been, I've always felt it's like 10 years ahead of what we have here.
Yeah,
Especially back 10 years ago or 5 years ago. I think the new muscle contest, I think certain avenues have given the Republic a bit more breathing space for shows. But I always thought the Northern Irish standard was always leaps above because of the funneling system you guys had.
yeah,
Um, being connected to like essentially the all the shows you had were qualifiers for the finals, whereas over what we have, it's just the one and done. We don't really have anything bar the Europeans or the Arnold Classic or the Universal Worlds at the time.
yeah,
We didn't have like an Irish overall because there wasn't enough people in it.
yeah.
But did you feel like coming up in Derry and coming up in like an area which is fairly heavy in bodybuilding history, with guys such as Billy and Dave, and then you have like up and comers like Josh Coyle and whoever else, James Gibson. I
Yeah.
could probably go on, Emma Gormley, like anyone who's listening or watching, like give those guys a look. I'm sure is there any other guys like when you were coming up? Was there any guys or girls even that you said, like that were excelling at the time? Was there any like kind of
See,
motivational figures, I suppose?
see the standard whenever I was coming, whenever I started, it was all kind of the older guys. Obviously, they were just all peaking.
Yeah,
So you had boys like Al Smith there, who's NABBA Pro, complete and utter mass monster, grainy condition, crazy. You had boys like Paul Stewart,
yes, yeah,
like and you've obviously got Dave there, Dave Fox, Big Mark Getty. You've all these guys,
yeah,
and then you're looking at them and you're thinking, Jesus, they're like light years ahead. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? Just the mass that they had, and the condition that they were bringing was crazy. But obviously then, whenever I started competing, I was kind of just looking at the guys that was basically going to be going against me, but that was a threat to me, you know. But do you remember Big Frankie Michael Levy? Big
No, I
Frankie,
never met him. Never seen him.
Big Frankie was he actually was my class at school,
Okay.
and he was class 2 as well. He just missed out on the overall NABBA NI title, but he lost it to Paul Stewart.
Yeah.
And like he was a beast. He was a beast. And then his wee brother Johnny was actually in Pro Gym as well. He's another freak. He won the PCA. He did his first season. Was it 2017? I think 2017. He did a season along with me, and he did PCA, and then he did an NABBA, and he just cleaned up. But then he just stopped training.
Oh.
He just stopped. So them two guys are two brothers, and they're just two genetic freaks.
Yeah.
Who had all the potential. Basically, they take it all away, and they've just kind of stopped, which is kind of sad to see. But there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of talent in the north. Like that's what people say. Oh, why would you be bored by local shows or national shows? But if you look at the standard there, they're not easy shows to win.
No. No, not at all. I mean, like from my own experience, I mean, going up there and doing the Belfast show we did. Like I mean, every show I've done, it's been a weird mix. It's when I started out, they were stacked. I mean, my first show, it was under 21s, and there was 24 people in the class. It's unheard of, you know, now. Especially in juniors, because like all the young guys would be splitting off to go into classic or men's physique, and then you get the bodybuilders who want to stick with bodybuilding.
Yeah.
But you know, it's
See,
crazy.
see, because back then there was only bodybuilding,
Yeah.
so you had it. You were forced. That's where you had to go. Whereas now there's that many different classes. You just don't get. Like that's the thing that I don't like about it now. Up north, especially if you go to a NABBA NI show, the classes are stacked right up until you get to the muster classes,
Yeah.
and you're looking, and you might only have 6 or 3 or 2, or someone might even only be 1 in a class, and you're going, what the hell? What has happened? Like, you know. But the standard, see what I always say is if you get the guys now, the kind of active guys in the scene, they all go at the one time.
Yeah.
That would be insane. It would be insane viewing, like, because there is a lot of guys basically with a lot of talent in the north. And then you look at the PCA, you've got all the south as well. So that PCA show for me is probably one of the hardest shows they won, because you've got guys coming from everywhere.
Yeah, I remember the RBBF. I remember the guys would come down from up north to do that one. So I remember we'd be competing the week before in Dublin, and we'd have you know, it'd be the regular, like it would be the people would compete with, or it'd be in my area. And then, you know, next time you get an extra, usually get an extra load of, it would be almost a third more competitors into the following week, let's say, which was great. So we always had like, you know, certain guys would do the NABBA Ireland. I know they did the Ireland because they wanted the title of Mr. Ireland. And then I know the RBBF was a good route to qualify anyone really for the Arnold Classic and stuff like that. So instead of doing the UK BFF, you also had that option of doing the you know, the Europeans and stuff like that. But I mean, like I remember my first exposure to Northern Irish bodybuilding was, there was already pros up there. Like we didn't have that. I mean, you guys had Masood Butt. Does he train out of Pro Gym as well?
Yeah, Masoom trains in Pro Gym. We've got Masoom's IFBB Pro, Emma Gormley's in there, IFBB Pro. Who else? There's actually an odd year there. Alison Leary too would train at a Pro Gym. She's IFBB Pro. You know, so there's a lot of guys like up there, you know, in gears too, like with good quality physiques. Masoom's one of them guys. He's 212 Pro, but you just look at him and he's just a freak. He's just bellies are just bubbling out of him, and crazy strong. So
crazy.
He's just a wee tank.
I love his physique. It's so round, it's so full. Like it's
Yeah,
just there's nothing missing. I think the only thing with him is he'll get outsized. That's where he loses it. It's
yeah.
not missing anything. It's just he's not big enough.
I think whenever he comes on competition, like he's on maybe 197, 198 pounds, something like that there. So he's giving off, say, 12 pounds, these guys.
Yeah,
And 12 pound when you're that size is huge.
it's a lot. I mean,
It's a
like,
lot.
do you feel now as a taller competitor, that places you, it gives you an advantage, um, in a way.
You can look at it two ways. I think, well, class two, my kind of height's probably a good height where you're kind of in between. You're in the medium kind of category where you're not too tall and you're not too short. The shorter guys can fill the physique out better. Do you know what I mean? They're shorter, so you can fill the muscle out. And for the taller guys, it's very hard to fill a tall frame. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle, so middle ground. I'm filling it not too bad, but I still have a lot to go. A lot to go.
I mean, what body weight did you compete at, in your last show as opposed to your first show? I mean,
Oh, first show, I was probably only, I think, about 11 and a half stone.
okay, yeah,
Really, really small. And
yeah,
believe it or not, at NABBA NI, which was the first show in the season, now, a lot of people, you'll get a lot of bodybuilders and they'll not tell you the proper weight because they get this, they always like to put out this big weight. So I could turn around and tell you, now I was 15 stone on stage, shredded, but I wasn't. uh, I was 13 stone, um, 13 stone, 9 pound
okay,
at NABBA, which was my first show.
yeah,
And I was pretty, there was not much left. I was shredded. Like, PCA 3 weeks later, I went up 3 pound. So three
oh,
pound more fullness, which was a really, really nice mix. So I think I was 13-11
oh,
there. And that was just a perfect mix because I was nice and full and I was still dry
yeah,
and hard. And then the World's End, which was basically another 3 weeks, I was 14 stone on the button, but I just didn't have that same, because basically what happened after PCA was I won the overall title. I thought, like, in my head, going into this 2019 season, I just had overall in my head, that was it. I just overall title. I wasn't thinking about coming out of the class, because if I wasn't good enough for the class, I wasn't good enough for the overall. I just had this thing about be last man standing. I just needed it. And I was chasing that down. And I
yeah,
kept saying, and openly said it. I said to people, they said, what do you think? I'm going for the overall. And I want that overall title. Um, and for that, to get that at PCA, it was unreal. It was a really, really one of them moments where everything just kind of felt solidified that, geez, I've actually done this. I've actually achieved this. Like, I am a decent bodybuilder. You know, it just kind of brought everything back. There's a lot of emotion in that day because every year leading up to that, that's the one goal I had, was to be last man standing on that stage. And
yeah,
to do it that day with the quality of competitors that was there was insane.
yeah. It
Um,
was a good show, man. I enjoyed doing it. But I mean, one important point, like what people should be listening to, is the fact that you came in peeled in your
yeah,
first show. I mean, a lot of people don't do that. I mean, I certainly didn't. So I think coming in condition from the very get go, it kind of leaves you with, like I tell people this: when you get in condition once, it doesn't make it any easier, but at the same time, it shows you that okay, I can do it. Okay, so the only thing you really have to worry about once you've gotten into shape once is about making the improvements. Um, so did you find when you came in condition, what were the comments made? Was it generally just fill up the frame a little bit more? You already like just the basic things, just get a bit bigger and stuff like that.
see, whenever I came on basically that first show, there was no, the comments I was getting back was actually surreal. There was just, everybody was just saying that it was the best I've ever seen, you know, because the presentation, I was full too, you know, and I was just super dry. I was
Yeah,
really, really conditioned. And I remember going on that show, it's actually a good one, and a lot will probably relate to this, was I was coming on that show and I was probably ready 3 weeks out. So I was like, so see, the last 3 weeks of that show was when it really hit me. And at that point where every footstep you felt. And then there was one time I was actually telling the guy, one of the guys was training me, I just texted him, I said, look, I don't want to be cheeky, but let's just not talk today at training.
yeah, yeah,
Because my brain cannot process any more today. I was just done. I just looked, and he goes, no problem. So we went into the gym and literally grinded the session out. He busted my ass. And at the end of them, I was able to just chat to him because I was able to know, all right, I've got that done now. I've survived it. Let's move on to the next day. And it was one day at a time, type of thing. But you see, the thing is too, like, the job I'm in, I'm an engineer, so I do programming, which is all, there's no physical work, it's all mental. So you're programming on a laptop.
Cool.
So whenever the body fat's off, your mind starts to, you have to really, really put a lot of effort on there to try and concentrate,
Yeah.
So that's why basically was saying to him, I says, listen, we're not being shaky here, but there's no talking today. Just don't be talking to me. I was busted.
I've been there. I mean, I felt, you have to get into that place though.
Yeah.
And do you find that surrounding yourself, I would refuse to train with certain people now. I wouldn't train with, the only people I train with would be people better than me,
Yeah.
myself, or pretty much a client, like I'd say a bodybuilding client. So even with my, like if I had a friend asking me to train them, or oh they want to come with me, I tell them politely no. But
Yeah.
in your end, man, would you be of the same mindset? If you want to be the best, you have to surround yourself with like-minded individuals.
100%, 100%. Like I had a train. I only really had one training partner. And we trained. We don't train together now, but we trained for years on end. And the thing was, the man was a beast. He was 19, 20 stone,
Yeah,
strong as a bull. So I was getting butterflies in my stomach getting into training with that man, because I was thinking to myself, how the fuck am I going to keep up with him a day again? Like, he was destroying me, but it was good for me because I was getting all the growth. I was chasing him, constantly chasing him. And I got this stage in where I had to train a wee bit smarter. He still trains like a lunatic.
yeah,
So he does. So I was just like, right, I need to train a wee bit smarter. And obviously I just get the headphones on now, and I feel I can really just connect with the muscle like that, and I can get the training sessions done. I find there's very few people that I can train with, because they would either hold me back or I would get frustrated. And I don't want to come across as that person where you don't want to be a dickhead to anybody or come across like that, but you're there to do a job. And I find once I go in the doors, the pre-workout's in, I just want to get it done. Um, I'll have a wee chat while I'm warming up, but once I'm warmed up and the sweat's on, just nobody talk to me. Just don't talk. We just have to get the job done. But that's where you have to be.
yeah. I mean, I find during prep anyway, like I might be a bit weird now. During prep, I like training with people, just for the extra push because I know I'm capable
Yep.
of more during the actual gym sessions. So I just need a push. In the off season, I can kind of do it on my own, except for maybe a spot and certain lifts. That'd be it. Um, would you say you're training with a ramp up in intensity, from pre-season to off, or would you keep it the same the whole way through? Just change it around.
Training, going on day prep just doesn't change. It just stays exact same split, exact same rest. And the key thing for me, get on day prep is performance. You have to keep your strength. See,
Yeah,
once you start to see that dip in strength, especially at the early stages, then you're doing it wrong.
yeah,
Your food's too low, your recovery is not right, and you're just not getting the rest or whatever. But you have to keep your strength high, because see, once that strength starts to dip, you're losing muscle.
yeah,
You're definitely going to lose muscle. You're going to lose fullness in the physique. A lot of people has this thing in their head where they start a prep and they think they can do higher reps and stuff. And then obviously as you get more deep into prep, they're saying, "Oh well, my muscles are dry now. I don't want to go too heavy."
yeah,
If the strength's there, just do it. Do the weight, because obviously be safe and listen to your body's feedback. But if you have the strength, then you have to keep pushing that strength, because you keep all your tissue and you're going to burn extra calories. So I just don't get why people tries to change everything going into a prep. It's the exact same.
yeah,
You literally change the diet, the food chops down, and as a result of your output staying high, you're gonna get leaner, and you're going to hold that fullness too in your physique.
yeah. I mean, I tell people this as well. It also depends. I mean, um, like we have no excuse to not push hard in terms of dieting because Like what I tell people is when you're doing bodybuilding, if you go natural bodybuilding, of course, you're going to have to be a bit more careful. You're
Yeah,
going to have to do a longer diet and make sure you hold as much tissue as possible. But when you're doing, you know, as I call it, enhanced extracurricular bodybuilding, all that enables you to do is be a little bit harsher in terms of your dieting. If you need to drop to, you know, a certain amount of calories or carbs, you can do that without losing tissue.
yeah,
But the enhancements only allow you to train um with added, you know, it'll allow you to grow, not necessarily grow, but you won't lose tissue as long as you're training hard and heavy.
no, exactly. I think once obviously the enhancers are in there, and your protein intake's high enough,
Yeah,
you're not going to drop muscle tissue that easy. You're definitely not going to drop it that easy. The problem being, people the start of your prep's going to determine a lot on the end of your prep.
yeah,
If you're starting a prep, and you have 3 stone to drop, you're not going to be peeled
no,
at the end. And if you are peeled, you're going to lost a lot of muscle. So
yeah,
I always say, if you're starting a prep 16 weeks out, you want to be pretty lean, not
yeah,
not not stupidly, but you need to be well at yourself. Um, Maybe at the maximum 2 stone. I wouldn't be dropping any more than that. Ideally, 1.5 stone, something like that there. And it allows you to get that condition. You know, people always say to me, "Well, how do you get so shredded?" It's a really simple process, but one key thing I always do is I always start the prep lean.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so we're slowly chipping down. I'm losing 2 pound a week, and that's it. And at the end, you're at 3 weeks out, you're ready.
yeah. See, I've never been in that position. I mean, I've never been completely shredded yet, so I can't say what's it like to be ready at three weeks out. Like I'm always, my issue has always been I get to 6 weeks because I've always like when I was a junior, I did it myself. Um, Last year I did it with Christian McAlinden. He helped me for my very first show. And then I did my last load of shows myself, and then Tommy Staunton helped me for my very last one. But
Yeah.
I find like this is as a coach, um, do you find like how would you're obviously, you know, full-time working, but you have a coaching business on the side.
Yeah.
What made you decide I want to do online coaching? I mean, because it's obviously, you know, it's very much it can be productive, but I wouldn't do it unless you had a second income to start it off. I mean, so how did you
Yeah.
get
So
into coaching?
that's basically what kind of the way. It was always one of them things where you always have a big passion, like see show prep and stuff. I'm just fascinated by getting in shape. So it was always kind of a passion that you had anyway, getting in shape and watching people get in shape.
Cool.
And then I wouldn't have started years ago because I wouldn't have had the knowledge to do it. So basically, I was always something I wanted to do. And the reason I started it was because you got to a level where your knowledge base, you invested in. I've invested years into this, so all that there all builds up. And whenever I felt like I had a good knowledge base, they basically give out good content and good advice. I just started it up, but as you say, I still have my job, my own job. I wouldn't have just jumped in and went online coaching full time straight off the bat,
Yeah,
because it takes time. It takes time to build up. It takes time for people to see your results, people to get confidence in you. You know, so it is going to be a long term thing. But again, it does take time for it to build up. I was lucky enough, probably too, coming off the back of them ones and stuff. 2019 when I started it up, my online coaching business took off pretty
cool.
quick for the first. So I was pretty busy from the start, which was really good. And then coming into this year, I actually had 6 people going for shows.
Savage.
We got the 6 weeks out. Well, one guy was 4 weeks out for a muscle contest, and we had to pull the pin. Madness.
So I
And
think
they
it's,
were,
I mean, like, did you see what they did with the Arnold? They only let competitors in for the finals. So it's like the pre-judging was blocked off, you know, there was no expo. You know, they're pushing forward the Olympia. It's a crazy, crazy year to get into bodybuilding. I mean, I had one
uh,
client, but he was only going to be doing I think it was spring initially, and then we said October. But that, like, October down here is meant to be going on. I mean, we've
yeah,
got dates, but I told him, look, I don't want to put you under that mental stress of having to worry about, is it going to be on or
It's
not?
just
So with all your clients, if you have they all pulled out from all their shows, it's just off season now.
basically when it started, the COVID was only meant to be 2 weeks. Remember, 2 weeks lockdown, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So everybody kind of just says, you know what, let's hang tight. We'll stay in condition. It'll be grand. We'll hit the shows then later in the year, no problem. But sure, all hell broke loose. So basically all the guys now is basically reverse dieted and then off season.
Yeah.
And realistically, you're looking at the end of the year, will it go ahead? I've told them likely not. I think this year's a wipeout. I really do, because by the time gyms open, people has to try to get back into the gym and then get back in contest shape. I don't think it's going to happen.
Are you guys still shut until October, like the like England?
That's mental.
Yeah, and that's crazy. I mean, I do think it'll be. I mean, even over down here, it's like August, but like I mean, we're already halfway through it at this. I tell people this, like, look, um, I tell people unless you're, new to the game or like you're at a level where you need stimulation, like heavy weights, you're not necessarily gonna grow, okay, unless you have a home kit like yourself.
Yeah.
um, you can maintain, like it's not hard to hold weight. It's actually fairly easy to hold weight, just doing like the basics with some bands and keeping the food high. But like I mean, I know a few guys who have their own private gyms quite near me. So once the restrictions get lifted a little bit higher, I'll just start going to there. But at this point, I'm just doing bands. But you've a good home kit. You've like, how'd you manage to get that? Did you just say, what, I'm just gonna get sorted out,
Well,
just kit myself and um,
at the
stay
start at the
stay
start of
active?
lockdown, I basically went basically back to my mum's house, who had the wee bench I used when I was 17.
Cool.
So I got that, and I had a couple of dumbbells, and I thought, right, this is me now. I'll use these.
Yeah.
And obviously, you started using it, and you could do a half decent wee session, a wee pump, but I was going, fuck, this isn't going to work here.
Yeah.
So I was basically pricing around trying to get a rack, a certain type of rack or something. I've seen a few guys with a rack, and I thought this is a really good job here. And I have a garage out there, so obviously the garage was just a complete tip, faulty rubbish. So I thought, right, you know what, I'm going to rent this garage out, get a skip, and we'll build a wee gym. But it kind of grew arms and legs. I started off, I was just going to get the bench and the rack, and once I got the bench and the rack in, I thought, fuck, this looks apart here. I could get what can I do for legs? So I sourced a second hand leg press in,
Yeah. Cool.
and once the leg press is on, I go, jeez, what else can I get? So it's grew arms and legs. There's a full gym out there now. So
Exactly.
I'm covered. I'm covered for lockdown. But
Yeah. I mean, I think like a lot of people after this are gonna go and get home gyms, and I'm not even thinking like another lockdown. Like, touch wood, it doesn't happen, but during preps and stuff,
so handy.
especially if you have a family, like when they're asleep or, the kids are asleep, you can get up, do your first session of the day or
Yep.
whatever. I mean, as a family man, how have you found, like doing competitive bodybuilding? Because, I mean, they're obviously old enough that they know what you're doing. It's not like having a toddler where it's kind of
Yeah.
don't know. So what's your experience being, competing in bodybuilding and then, telling your missus and the kids, okay, daddy can't do this, he has to eat this, do this. What's the general situation been for yourself?
For me, it hasn't been too bad. Obviously, the rest of the guys, they eat what they want. Whenever the wee guy was a wee bit younger, he would have came to me with a cookie, sat at my knee and says, "Daddy, just have the cookie." And I'm going, "No, I can't eat that." And he's going like, "Just take one wee bite and you've been putting it under your mouth, and
Right.
you're looking to eat the whole cookie." But I've kind of got the mentality where food doesn't really bother me. So while I'm sitting eating, I could be sitting eating white fish and rice or whatever, and they will be having a chicken curry and obviously, I like weirdly, I like the smell of food and the
Okay.
taste buds start to, but the food doesn't really bother me. So juggling the whole family thing, I just kind of, the family has to come first no matter what.
Yeah.
But you can fit your training in. So as long as I get training, then the rest of the day is my day or whatever. So you go to your work, after work finishes, I go to the gym straight away, get it done, and then the rest of the time's family time. So it can be done. Obviously, it's not as ideal as if you're a single man, but it's more than doable. And then the thing about it is, whenever you're at the shows and they're at the shows as well, and you're like that time I won that overall, they basically think I'm this superhero. Do you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a great feeling. And they'd be buzzing off it. So we got them wee t-shirts done with the NXT on it and the Pro Gym in the back and stuff. It's good. It's good
Yeah.
to have. Like,
How old are the kids now? Like,
my wee girl is 16 and the wee boy is 7.
savage, savage. So it's like,
We actually had the wee girl whenever I was only 17. We're still together, so I'm actually with my missus now. I think 18 years
right,
from we're
7,
16.
and you're in your 30s now. Then you're
I'm in my
early.
30s now. Yeah,
Crazy, crazy.
crazy.
That said, man, I know a good few bodybuilders who had kids, and I think it's actually made them better bodybuilders because they literally just plan. Christian said he just planned his meal times around his son's eating. So it's like, I figure if you have a kid and the baby's gonna be eating,
You're
throughout the night anyway, just eat at the same time.
eat and sleep.
Bodybuilders, yeah. But that's awesome, man. That's awesome because I know, like, look, at the end of the day, you're gonna get the occasional competitor, who pushes their family away, and um,
You see it time and time again. You see it in the scene. A lot of guys go through relationships, and families suffering and stuff, and possibly them not even at a level where people has to remember it's a hobby.
yeah,
Until you're professional making thousands of pounds out of it, then people has to remember it's just a hobby, and obviously it's a very consuming one, 24/7, 365. But it is what it is. You just have to make the best of it, and
yeah,
enjoy it.
yeah. If that being said, if your one of your kids wanted to do bodybuilding, would you be a parent that says no, or would you be a parent that says yes? I mean, like, I don't have a kid, so I can't really say, but my general consensus is if they wanted to bodybuild and I say no, at least in my case, I still did it anyway,
Yeah,
contrary to what people said for me not to do. So I think I would be better off telling them yes, but just steer them away from bullshit.
yeah, exactly. At the end of the day, whenever they get to a certain age, my wee man at the minute, he's actually in a wee football team since he was 5. So he's actually playing. They're like training 4 days a week, 2
Yeah,
training sessions and 2 matches a week.
yeah,
So four days a week, he's actually playing football, which is crazy for a 7-year-old. So he's flat out playing football. But there's going to come a time where maybe, obviously, if I'm still doing it, which I probably will because I'm not going to stop, he's going to probably look to do the weights or whatever. So um, I can teach him all the right ways to do things, the right nutrition, all the rest. And then at the end of the day, if he's still playing the football and he's using the weights for performance or whatever, then all well and good. But if he wants to take it further in the bodybuilding side, then again, it's his choice. And
yeah.
by that stage, they're old enough to make their own decisions. Do you know what I mean? But at least we're here with experience to guide them in the right direction. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, because I came from a very weird position where, like, my family aren't sporty at all. There's no sporting background. Like, even in the extended family, there's no sports. So it's like I was the first, um, one in the household to really, it wasn't as if I picked rugby or football. I picked bodybuilding. So it's like, okay, right. So, especially, I think at the end of the day, they're just worried about health. I'm like, look,
Yeah.
that's the least of my concerns because I make it, you know, I monitor everything. And, as a bodybuilder, like with your clientele and stuff like that. I mean, when I'm working with somebody, I would tell them generally bloods three times a year. Twice during. I generally say before the off season, after the off season, and before prep and after prep. That would be
Yeah.
it for myself. But with yourself, would you generally be, get the markers in place, make sure.
100%. I'm actually lucky enough to have one of my friends through the gym. He's actually a doctor, so anything I need or anything like that, he does a full MOT, does all the bloods. They all come back, and then he emails them to me as well, so I can see them. And all the markers. Obviously, when you're doing this here, your markers can be up and down or whatever, so you need to see what you need to correct. One thing, like, so anybody, like, see, the thing is, people's quick to spend money elsewhere, but they won't get their bloods done, and they won't get good advice on their bloods, and that's just stupid for me, because it's like a car. You think about the car, the bodywork might look brand new in the car, but the engine can be bust. You know what I mean? So you need to look after your insides. So I agree, 3 times a year for bloods, I think is enough. Definitely enough. 3 times a year is fine. One product I found that really helped me was the Strom Support Max.
Okay.
I've used that now religiously for 2 years, and my bloods have never been as good. Like, I got my bloods done post-show. So I did 3 shows back to back, which would have been harsh on the body. And then obviously the surgery, I was on a lot of morphine and stuff. And 2 weeks after I got out from hospital, I went down and got my bloods done. And my bloods was just bang on back in range. I couldn't believe it.
Crazy, crazy.
And the Support Max 100% was contributing to that, definitely.
Cool.
Liver values, kidney values, everything was bang in range.
Okay, fair enough.
And cholesterol, everything like that too was level. I couldn't believe it. And I actually got them done there a few months back. Same again, bloods are still in range. So it's one of them products I'll never take out again, because until I put it on, they definitely weren't looking to get. So it's definitely one to think about. Do you take it?
No, I generally, you know, I'm fairly lucky. Like every time I get my bloods done, at the end of any push, and then, generally at the end of prep. So obviously after weight gain, and then just after prep. But I've just taken the basic, you know, if I'm not getting in certain things, I'll generally just supplement them elsewhere, but I've never really needed. I've been very lucky in my bloods. I've generally been quite stable, because I've never really
That's good.
pushed in terms of drugs. I've never really pushed it that hard. So the only time my bloods have been off is when I gained a ton of weight and the blood pressure went up, and then it stabilized. But I think that was the worst thing, was gaining like 20 kilos after the shows. But did you ever do anything like that? Any rookie mistakes?
uh, early shows. Obviously the first show, probably, and the second and third show,
Yeah.
it was just a binge fest where you would have just ate everything in sight, and you probably put on 2 or 3 stone
Oh,
in
yeah.
a week, and you were just like a Michelin man. You couldn't move your water retention, and it was just. I see me sitting on the sofa with my stomach completely extended out, bloated, and still trying to eat. Do you know what I mean? It was just crazy. But recently, I would really control it now. I would maybe have 1 or 2 days completely off, and then I would start to try and reverse back out of where I was. And it works a lot better. Like, you can still have a few wee treats in there, but I'm a big believer in the rebound. See the rebound phase after a show.
Yeah.
That can either last you 4 weeks. Like, I think you'll get away with it, no matter what. You could get away with eating anything for 4 weeks, and you'll still look pretty good. See, after that, then you're just going to turn into a complete blob, very
Yeah.
very fast. Um, but I'm a big believer that you can maintain that 4 weeks. You can extend that to 4 months if you like.
Yeah.
You know, if you manage it properly post show, and just slowly add more food every week.
Yeah.
So you don't want to be jumping up too fast.
No, I mean, do you think there's any benefit to? I mean, like I've always had two trains of thought about it. I've always said like it depends on how long your off season is going to be. I mean, like if you're not competing anytime soon, absolutely take your time and, you know, try hold a leaner body weight or whatever. But I think there's the other argument that can be made. I think it was Fuad Abiad who said it, and I think it was like at the end of 8 weeks, in your off season from a prep, you're going to be at the same body weight anyway. So do you think there's any merit to just getting up there and then just holding it and then worrying about it, or would you rather taper it up slowly and then go from there?
I've kind of done the both approaches. So I'm definitely in favor of slowly tapering it up.
Oh,
Simply for the fact is your body stays so much more insulin sensitive. So you're just partitioning them nutrients so much better. Your pumps are so much better. Everything, it just works so much better. If you completely pack out straight away, you're putting on all this tons of weight. A lot of it's just water weight and shite.
yeah,
you're lethargic, you feel like crap. So you're not going to get the sessions in as efficient as you would if you were just slowly tipping that up. So there's a
No.
lot of wee factors there. And again, if you don't put on body fat too fast, you're going to extend that period where you can just get away with eating a lot of food for
Yeah.
longer. Once body fat creeps up and gets to a point, you start to get a wee bit insulin resistant again, and then you have to cut back before you can push again. So I'm a big fan of basically prolonging that period of staying kind of semi-lean. Everything's just working so much better, and your partitioning everything so much better. I've tried both, and trust me, from my experience anyway, and even with clients and stuff too, it does work a lot better.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100% because um I did that. I kind of rebounded fairly fast on purpose, just to get up to the baseline because I didn't have an off season for since 2017. So I was like, you know what, let's just get back up to where we were.
Yeah.
I surpassed that, and then I got injured about 3 weeks later because my own stupidity. It was like you feel great, you look great. Like I wasn't fat. It's like you look great, you feel great, you're pumped up, but the actual ligaments and joints and everything, they're still impregnable.
Yeah.
So it's
I
like
know.
you're not gonna be able to push the weight anyway.
Yeah.
So I think like definitely I think the slow rebound, it's like it just gives your body you're
Gives
not
your
gonna,
body a time to adjust as well.
yeah.
You know, you think if anybody that puts on that weight so quick, lower back pumps, your
Yeah,
leg days are affected, your back days are affected. You know,
yeah,
there's too many side effects that can be avoided, if you know what I mean. But it's just there's a lot of self control needed because you know yourself after the shows, your appetite is through the roof and there's no filling you.
yeah.
So
I mean, I
once that
call
food starts to go back in, it's hard to stop.
yeah, I call people food focused. I mean, like I know I don't stop talking about food for about a week, and then it kind of dies off. But I'd be talking about food every single. I wouldn't realize it, but I'm talking about it all the time. But I mean, on your end now, like, do you think you know, um, what's your future plans? Because obviously you're in a position now, like your symmetry is pretty much back. I mean, like from what I can see anyway, I did the same thing to my knee. I didn't do it to the same degree, and I only did one leg.
Right.
So it took and I didn't have surgery on it. It was the same tendon, the patella. It was I had a partial tear there. I did my ACL and I tore my one of my medial ligaments as well, but it was all partial tears all
Yeah.
over. So I had the option for keyhole surgery to just get the loose bits out that broke off from cartilage and stuff. I did that.
Yeah.
Took me at least a year and a half to 2 years until I felt fully comfortable. Now my bad leg is my good leg, but
Very good.
because you had the two injuries, like, does one hurt more than the other, or is one
Uh,
like,
you see, it was a funny one because my right leg was more flexible,
yeah,
but it wasn't as strong. And then my left leg is stronger, but it's less flexible.
yeah,
And to this day now, I'm still, at the minute, I'm having a wee bit of bruising on my left. And I
yeah,
think it's do with flexibility. Whenever
yeah,
the quads tighten up and stuff, because I'm lifting heavier now, I'm
yeah,
starting to feel bruising in the tendon. And it's hard to differentiate, is it a bad bruising or is it just a recovery type of bruising? Do you know what I mean? So I have to be really, really careful with.
yeah,
Um, but the legs, like, I'm literally only properly loading them maybe 2 months. So
yeah,
they've kind of grew back, you know. So muscle memory is a good thing because these legs come back pretty quick.
yeah. I mean, I found like I mean on my end anyway. I was told. I remember post surgery. It was like, okay, you're gonna be in a period of rehab for. I think I was on crutches for. Okay, it was around 12 weeks. Like it was long, 12, 16 weeks. I stopped at 16 weeks, but I only stopped because it got to the point where um the doctors kind of were you in a position where the recovery time was quicker, or has it been a bit longer? I mean, because
Yeah. So
for me, like it took
my
time.
my recovery, they've basically got the standard. There's like a standard chart of where you should be at certain stages, and
Yeah,
because of my muscle mass, the surgeon that did my surgery, he actually wired my kneecap as well. So basically, he wired it and locked it that I couldn't bend physically past 90 degrees. So no
Yeah.
matter what I did, it was locked at 90 degrees. And it was basically in there in case I slipped or fell, it would protect it. So um, within 5 weeks, I was at 90 degrees,
Cool.
but I couldn't get past it
Yeah.
because it was locked. And the physio in the hospital was telling me to do wee bodyweight squats and stuff off a chair and try and do wee light things. So I was doing this and that was grand. I went back at 12 weeks. 12 weeks, I was supposed to get another x-ray to get the wire out. And the wire actually wore a hole, like a big slot in my bone. So because I was moving it to 90 degrees, I was like wearing a hole in the bone because I was getting wild shin splints. I said, fuck, my legs kill me down there. What is going on here? Fucking big hole in my bone, massive big hole. And it was me, I was leg pressing.
Yeah.
So I was in the gym. I was back at the gym rehabbing the legs. I was doing the prowler, pushing the prowler, and I was doing like wee small leg presses.
Yeah.
I was just wearing a hole in the bone. And the doctor, the physio told me to do this. And then the doctor goes to me, oh, you have a hole in your bone. I said, well, the physio told me to exercise it. And they're going, no. I said, get that wire out, get it out. So I had to go for a second surgery then,
Yeah.
which basically cut the side of the knees open and they just pulled the wire out.
Yeah.
And once that wire was out, the relief I got was unbelievable.
Yeah.
I was just causing havoc in there. So it was, but one of, I think it was maybe around the 16-week mark, I had to go back to the surgeon. And he basically came back and I came back and my legs had started to grow back at this stage. And they were, because I was still lean, they were all vascular and stuff too. So I was kind of sitting there in the bed and he looked at my legs and thought, are you training these legs?
Yeah. Savage.
And I was like, I'm doing a wee bit. And he goes, like, what are you pressing here? He goes, because, you're still there's an amber light here. You could still re-tear these. And I'm going, I was just kind of sitting there oblivious to it all. But my legs, you could see straight away at the legs because, like, there was a before and after picture. You probably seen it on Instagram that I put up. My legs was gone. They were like it was probably the thickness of that rust there coming out.
Crazy. People
It was
don't
mint.
understand. Like, I mean, like I did my what happened to me when I was 17, I did my right leg. So I was playing rugby. I only ever played rugby to get into a gym because back then what people younger than like what people don't realize like like back like you remember this, you had to lie about your age to get into a gym.
Yeah.
I had to lie. I had to say I'm going here to do rugby and I'm going here and I'm also 16 when I was 15.
Yeah.
But needless to say, I did my knee doing rugby, and I remember it was a very very similar situation. It was a case of where I went back to the physio, and like even when like everything was perfectly okay, I still had pain in my knee for about a year and a half afterwards. Like 2 years after, it went away when I was 20. So the only pain I would get now would be in my supposedly good knee.
Right.
But do you find like they fixed everything pretty good? Like you're able to do everything without any issues and there's no real discomfort. Like I'm sure there was a bit of bruising and swelling.
Oh.
Once that
Like
wire was gone.
I can still feel like they have obviously like tied the tendon back the kneecap. I can still feel them with ropes and stuff inside the leg.
Yeah,
It's crazy what you can feel in there. They're never going to feel 100%. But when I'm training legs, if I warm them up properly,
yeah,
I can lift pretty strong on them again.
yeah,
Um, Squatting, I don't go super low because I just don't want to put any extra stress on that tendon. So once I go kind of level, I call it a day at that and just go back. And you're targeting the quads, what's fine.
yeah. I'd be the same.
I just need to be smart. But I say it's still fresh because it's only I think it's only turned 11 months. They told me I probably wouldn't be back training properly in about a year and a half. So
Yeah,
um, I'm ahead of the game recovery wise. So I just got to keep it going and see where it takes me. But the plan is to come back 2021.
damn it.
Hit that season, hit the NABBA, hit the PCA again, and push for them titles overall.
Deadly
We're
man.
pushing for the big one.
Love it. No, I love it because like at the end of the day, I mean, like I look at I remember Zach Khan. He did the same injury. He did the
Yeah,
same thing you did. And it took him a lot longer to come back
it
than
took
you.
him a lot. He did take a long. He took a massive break.
Yeah. I mean, I
Yeah,
remember he did like all the videos. That's when he really got popular. But like he had yeah, I think he's had more than 2 or 3 surgeries. But I think that's a lot of it's genetic. I think a lot of it's like fluid retention in the joint. Like the worst thing I had was it was definitely to do with fluid. So like when everything else healed back, there was still fluid in there that shouldn't have been there. There was it was just uncomfortable. But once that went away, and once all the tendons kind of got a bit stronger, the only thing I wouldn't do is run around. I wouldn't run around or jump side to side or do anything
no,
explosive. Like that'd be it. Like I mean, as bodybuilders, we shouldn't be anyway.
no. See, looking back, even looking back at what I was doing,
You're doing
all right,
football.
it sounded simple enough. You're just up playing a game of football, but I was after 3 shows back to back. I was still stupidly lean. Not much body fat there. No protection for the joints. Um, but you ever find after a show you can't lie down. You're still in that zone where you're just still your body just going, going, going. So I was up there thinking I was like Ronaldo, and then the wee guy tackled me, and that was the end of it. It was game over.
Yeah. No, I think the worst thing, like during prep, it was more I think sleep. I think sleep was like I found it really easy to sleep during the day because you're tired, like so you could nap throughout the day and build up around like I always said, like, look, I'm only gonna get like 4 hours sleep at the end of prep, but I used to sleep um at breaks and stuff and whenever I could. So it amounted to around 6 or 7 throughout the the
The
24
day,
hours anyway.
yeah.
But did you have any issues with that yourself, or did you manage to kind of
Sleep, I think sleep, the lack of sleep is definitely, see, as the body fat goes down,
yeah,
it's inevitable. You're not going to, your body doesn't need, your body seems to, it doesn't need as much sleep when you're super lean. You can, like, you can just seem to keep going on 4 or 5 hours sleep and you're good to go.
feel great?
Run, Running on the first show, the NABBA show, my sleep was definitely broken. Once I got that show out of the way, my body fat was still down, obviously, because you were actually getting leaner and tighter as it went on. But my sleep was perfect. So it was nearly like a stress thing or a mental thing. Once that first show was out of the way, I was sleeping like a baby through the PCA and through the Worlds. That didn't even bother me then. I was getting full night's sleep. I actually remember that the morning of the Worlds, I woke up and I forgot that I was actually doing the show. I woke up and I was like, what day is it? And I
Yeah,
looked and I was covered in tan. I was like, jeez, get up quick.
yeah,
That's how chilled out it was at the end of it. Um,
yeah.
the pressure was off.
Yeah,
I find after I got that overall title, see the NABBA Worlds, I wasn't actually doing the NABBA Worlds. I qualified for it, but I wasn't doing it. So we went completely on the full off season mode. Obviously, I had a full week eating junk, and I was actually sitting on the Sunday night, and I was fed up eating junk. You're kind of I was eating good food, but then I was eating desserts and stuff. And I went out then. Obviously, took the missus out for a 3-course meal, and we're having like a bottle of wine and stuff. And we came home on the Sunday night, and this was 2 weeks out from the Worlds. Um, I was sitting there going, I had a bit of drinking, I was drinking wine, and then I had a wee whiskey sitting there, and I thought, wonder could I do the Worlds? Why did I not do that? I should have done it. And then I messaged the giant. I said, do you think I can make this here? He goes, he says, what? I says, I'm thinking of doing it. I said, sure, it's only 2 weeks. He goes, send me pictures in the morning. So I took pictures in the morning and I thought, no, no way am I making that. I was like a water buffalo. And I was 21 pound up. And I was like, no, this is not happening. He goes, oh, we can do it. We can definitely do it. So strip, I was sitting there, had all my big meals there. I think we were reversing out. It was like 600 or 700 grams of carbs I was on.
yeah,
So I was sitting there scooping all the carbs out of the meals. And that was that time. We just we lost 21 pound in that 1 week. It was all fluid, all water.
yeah,
And then we did the peak week again then. So went down the world. We pushed on the words. We didn't. He just says, look, we'll just push to be super big. And I thought, hey, let's do it. Let's do it. What do I have to lose? So you're standing in the words. You don't want to be sitting there and look small.
yeah,
So we just pushed it. And as I say, I was at my heaviest and super full, but just lost a bit of a wee bit of crispness at the back. But it was still a good look. Really, really full. Still had plenty of detail. So It was nice to kind of try a different approach as well.
Yeah, especially for the worlds where, and the universe especially, where I've always felt the universe is more of like, it is more of a UK show because it's always in
Yeah,
the UK. Whereas the worlds, it's a lot more, you know, it's going to be jammers from people. It just so happened to be up in Victoria's, not Victoria Square, sorry, that's Birmingham. Or is it? It was in the same venue as, you know, the PCA, whatever it was before anyway.
yeah.
So, um, was that your first experience doing the worlds, or have you done it before?
That was the first. That was the first time going on the worlds. It was a good experience, you know, really, really good because obviously the standard of competitors that you're seeing is just mad. It's insane. Like
Just
we actually got it was this tanning with liquid sunrays, and it was done in a hotel.
yeah,
And all the guys just on there obviously tanning, and then obviously you just stand there. There's not, you've got nothing on you, like so you can how everybody looks like. And there were some big dudes, some
yeah.
really, really big guys, like, you know.
I mean, you
But
had all the
came
pros. You had all the pros, like all the NABBA pros. But I've always had a very weird issue with the NABBA pros, and it's not that they're not deserving of pro status, but half of them don't come in shape. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that the reason half of the NABBA pros don't come in shape is because they kind of realize it's the same people every show because there's not a lot of NABBA pros to do.
yeah,
So it's not like an IFBB show where you have to come in peeled because, you know, there could be, you know, David Henry or someone there or Flex or whatever. You're always going to have the same kind of crew at all the NABBA Pro shows. So, like, I mean, was not where your man was not. I mean, this year I know, like, we had some great amateur NABBA winners, and then they went on to do, you know, the pro show and then almost win it. I mean, your man, what's his name, Jack Brooker. Have you seen him?
oh Jack, he's some physique, crazy,
And I'm like,
crazy physique.
he won the amateurs and then went and came second in the pros.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you had the opportunity to, you know, turn professional in NABBA, would you do it, or the PCA, or would you do it just for,
I
you
would,
know?
I would take I would take the NABBA Pro card for just to have that status to say, you know what, I've done this. There's an elite group here. Because not everybody, it's a big one to get.
Yeah, it
You
is.
have to win the worlds or else win the universe or whatever your class.
Yeah,
So it'd be nice to get that title. PCA, I think, is maybe a level again above. Like if you look at the PCA guys, you have to win the overall British. And if you
yeah,
take a look at the standard in that overall British, that's IFBB Pro material.
yeah. And
Them
you,
guy, that's a big, big, big standard.
yeah. I
So
mean,
my goals is kind of hit the NABBA. If I can get NABBA professional, and then take it from there. But the PCA is it's crazy standard.
what people don't realize as well, like, NABBA, and like especially back in the 80s, like, I mean, way back before there was any, you know, real divisions, you had guys going from one league to the other league to the other league like we are now as amateurs,
Yeah,
but they would have been professionals. So what I find with the way the NABBA Pro stuff works, you can compete as a professional in NABBA. You can also compete as a professional in the PCA. So you have those two options of
yeah,
avenue. And I think like becoming an IF, like, I think you may disagree with me, but my whole take on it is the IFBB is kind of geared towards guys who have the genetic shape to support the size that they put on. Whereas NABBA and PCA, they kind of reward you for the hard work. So the guys who win the shows, of course, they'll be the most complete, but they may not necessarily be the most genetically gifted in terms of structure, which is what
yeah.
the IFBB is. It's all structure. So do you think like NABBA is kind of like it's the more hardcore? It's like I've always felt it's like you always get the guys in there. They're always like gnarly. They're huge. You know, savage physiques. They just don't have the structure that like a NABBA, like
Yeah, NABBA for me, it was always kind of the big mass monsters, you know, the
Yeah,
big freaky kind of guys. But again, coming through, I think there's more guys coming now with better looking physiques than you get the big nasty, the mass monsters. They're very few, if you
oh,
look at even now, they're few and far between.
yeah. I look at that's why I love the Northern Irish scene, because you have guys and they're huge, but they're not structurally bad either. It's just
Yeah.
like Mark Getty is what? He's like 6'5". He's a six
Yeah, he's
four.
a big tall guy, yeah.
Fill up that frame, like it's impossible to fill up that frame. Like, and
If you look at that height, you look at Josh Mealy, he's a NABBA pro. Do you know the big Viking?
yeah,
Jesus, that man's a beast, hey. And
yeah.
he brings condition, has condition,
He has
and
legs. He has legs as well. I mean,
legs are
it's
massive.
yeah. I mean,
So
some
like
of
him for a tall guy, I would like to see him and big Jamie Joe Hall go side by side, because that would be a battle.
I've seen them both in person. They were both at the PCA finals, and both were in off-season mode. So it's like, oh, freaky, just freaky.
Huge.
But I mean, like I know Dave Fox was big back in the day. He's still holding a lot of mass anyway. But I mean, in terms of Northern Irish scene, who would you say are the up and comers? Like, we won't count the pros because we know who the pros are. But I mean, like in my eyes, I wouldn't be too involved in it. But um, I'd say James Gibson's probably the next.
Gibson, like me and Gibson, competed a few times. We're good buddies. Like, so I would say if we were to do a show and put everybody up, myself included, I would say me and Gibson would be right up there. Gibson's probably the biggest threat. I don't want to let him know that, like, but he's got that big round, muscle bellies, thick
Yeah,
physique, whereas I will have maybe a bit more shape and the condition. So it comes down to the judges, apples and oranges. Who do you pick? You know, so I would say the two of us could be going in April time, but again, it's just everybody's circumstances. You say now you're going, but come the time we don't know who will be there. But if you line us all up, it would be a good showdown.
well, are you coaching any juniors or any?
I have a couple of young guys in the team too. They're not at the stage where they're ready to go to the stage, but they're just wee small guys starting out doing things right from the start. You know,
Deadly.
I've one wee guy down south and he's working his ass off. He's really skinny wee guy. And he's eating a ton of food now and he's just progressing every week, and
Average.
it's good to see. You know.
Average. No, because I was like I prepped two people before. It was men's physique. So obviously I did what I could. Um, but I didn't have the same passion for it, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I don't like I had one client and I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty let down that the shows got cancelled because it's like I was just like, yeah, I love bodybuilding and I love junior bodybuilding because that's what I started off in.
Yeah.
So for me to coach a junior would be a dream because I never won it. I never came in condition enough for it to win it. But
Yeah.
I'm like, if you can kind of win as a coach, it must be rewarding enough as well. I mean, have you had any clients that have competed already before all this madness?
We This was the first year running on it, so we had 6 people.
Yeah.
One for muscle contest, who he was 4 weeks out, and he was doing the masters, and he was pilled. I mean, pilled. Um, and he had 4 weeks to go, so he was going to be super grainy.
Oh no.
And then obviously we had 6 in for NABBA and PCA. And if you've seen the pictures of them all sitting 6 weeks out,
Yeah.
they were all sitting
They
really,
look.
really bang on.
They look
And I
good.
was gutted because I was going to have these guys shredded. You know,
Yeah.
it would have been good for them. They see them do it, and then obviously it was going to be good for me too for the online coaching. So,
Yeah.
we were all kind of gutted, but for for me, knowing what it's like to compete and what it takes for that to be pulled away at 6 weeks out and the uncertainty of it all, it was
Yeah.
a large mental battle for them guys. Like, you know.
Talking about mental health, like we just came across the news that Luke Sandow passed away. Um, 2 days ago, give or take. Now, obviously, it's implied, that it was suicide. But you know, from the videos, have you seen the videos that James Hollingshead and all put out? Like,
Seeing the videos, really,
yeah,
really sad. Hey?
I mean,
Sad
like,
times.
yeah, I mean, it's crazy because the guy had, you know, he had kids, he had the girlfriend, he had, you know, one of the best in the world, 31 years old or 30 years old. You know, I'm kind of like, the guy must have been dealing with some, you know, some bad old demons, because when all the physical stuff doesn't mean anything,
Yeah.
you know, that's when you know it's bad thing. But do you think, like, I mean, my old take, I'm not gonna like, there's no conspiracy to what happened or anything, but where I'm going with this is, you know, obviously it's a tragedy, but do you think this lockdown, um, I think it definitely contributed to it, because whereas if somebody's going through those times and there wasn't a quarantine, you could easily just pick up the phone, call somebody, or ring somebody or text somebody. Now I know he had a girlfriend. I'm not sure if they live together.
Yeah.
Um, so that's the problem. I mean, like, this
See,
lockdown's so bad for all the mental. It's not good.
the lockdown's not good, especially as you say, just a lot of people's out of routine, and a lot of people's feeling lost. You know what I mean? Obviously, look at a lot of stuff going on that
Yeah,
nobody fully understands. You know what I mean? We don't know what happened in his past, and stuff like that. But as I say, that lockdown could have contributed to the fact that all them shows was cancelled. He lost his purpose. Do you know what I mean? He lost his way a wee bit, and then maybe it could have been just icing on the cake. You don't know, but as I say, it's a for me, for someone to do that, they go that extreme. You know, there has to be another way. You know, so it's just a pity. And you see the following he had, like my Instagram, every single way I was going down through the feed, it was just Luke Sandel the whole way down. And the thing about it is, he might have been in the limelight now, but maybe he didn't realise how much support they really had. You know what I mean? So it's hard to put your head where his was, if you know what I mean. But I've never seen anybody pass away that had as much support in my
no,
life. Like the last few days, it's just been tributes to him. So it's really, really sad because it the potential to go all the way.
oh man, he wanted to win one Arnold. He wanted to win one Olympia, and then just retire at like 35, and like Eddie Hall did. And I
Yeah.
think in a weird way, you know, this hits a bit harder, at least to me, than it did with Dallas, because I wasn't a huge, like, I mean, Dallas was a great bodybuilder, but I wasn't a huge fan of him
Yeah.
as a bodybuilder. Whereas Luke, you know, was present every single week. You know, he answered you, he would talk to you. You know, I have
Oh,
friends
that's yeah.
who would talk to you, like, we would talk to you, you know, we give you the time of day. To have someone pass away who you wouldn't have known that he had demons until he
No.
said them, which he, so
Yeah.
we all knew he had them. We just didn't, you can't see it until it's too late in many of these situations. And I've had people on this podcast that have actually turned down interviews because their headspace ain't right. And
Yeah.
I'm like, you know what, look, I can't train, I can't do certain things, but I have a family, I have a roof over my head, I have enough money to get by. So, you know, like, there's certain things like, I'm sure you're of the same mindset. Um, you can really only focus on the good stuff. I mean, like, that's really good.
You can't only focus on what you can control. Do you know what I mean? We can't control how long it's going to last or anything like that, but there's still loads of stuff we can control. I actually had a wee thing on Instagram this morning, but even people that hasn't got equipment, you can still control your cardio. You can use this time for fat loss. You can use it for mobility. Get your diet on point, routine on point. There's loads of stuff you can work on,
Yeah,
education or whatever. It's just if you sit back with a negative attitude and let the whole situation suck you up, then you're going to be beat. But there's always it's a learning curve, and for everybody, the most sickening thing is that the whole situation with the self-employed and the gyms and stuff closing and people with private studios. So them guys have no income and stuff, and
yeah,
because of you're in this scene, you're seeing firsthand. There's people you know owns gyms. They've got zero income, so it must be stressful. It must be hard times, you know.
like,
I'm lucky enough. I'm still working. I'm working from home, so I'm not affected as that in that side of it. But I see loads of people who are like, and it's not nice. So you can see how it does lead to extra anxiety and stress and stuff. So hopefully we're out of this sooner rather than later. But
yeah. Well, look, at the end of the day, I think, um, you know, it's literally just a case of where everyone's in the same situation. So, like, nobody's really getting any advantage. Um, And like, even if you're able to train, it's just like you can. It's just the off season. I mean, there's no shows. There's
Yep.
nothing really. So we're all in the same position. But yeah, no, that's it, man. I mean, look, it was great having you on. Um, do you have any? Do you have any? Where can people find you for coaching? What's your
Instagram, obviously. We've got the Team Shredder going there, the coaching. It's going well. And then just a shout out to the other sponsors, NXT there. They've looked after me well. I've started with them in 2016, and they've looked after me ever
are
since.
they
Like, so
Irish or are they where are they from?
they're down in Dublin now.
Oh, cool. Because I know Locke
So
was about them. I just didn't.
big luck.
Yeah.
Me and Locke still on the team. So that's another boy that you want to get on. That Locke's a legend. So yes.
I asked him. I just he said he said just the headspace just needs a bit. It's not bodybuilding focused. So I said fair enough.
Yeah.
But no, I'm thinking I'm gonna get Dave on. I'm gonna get Dave Fox. I'll get Billy. I'll send James a message as well. See if he wants to pop on because all the guys down here, half of them are in a position where they'll do it, but then the other half, their head ain't in the right space for it. And you know what? I think the problem is like a lot of people are gonna become I hope people don't step away. I mean, I'm just hoping that people have that same fire for everything once we're able to get back to it because every show's gonna be jammers. Every show's gonna be packed up to the gills.
Next year, the classes are going to be the biggest ever. Everybody's going to have withdrawal symptoms. It's going to be crazy.
Yeah, yeah. I think muscle contests will be one. I think at least down here anyway. I wouldn't say NABBA and RBREF will really change because it'll be the same people. Like we always get some people who will do spring, but they won't do October. I don't think that's going to change. I just think it'll be a
Yeah.
case. Um, but I think the pro shows are going to be phenomenal to watch. The ones that are on this year because be the
100%.
only
Yeah.
ones that people can do. So, like that being said, man, it was a delight having you on. And look,
No bars.
I'll have to come up because I want to see that gym anyway, man, for sure. Once this is done and dusted, I'll probably stay up for a few days and
Even to make a weekend for it, up and get a few sessions on Pro Gym. It's good to be gym, and as I say, hotels and stuff up here is pretty cheap.
Airbnb.
Get
Wouldn't even
stuck
go
in.
hotel these days. There we go. But there, man. So look, thanks for coming on. Everyone
No
who's
worries, man.
listening, Brian can be found at his Instagram handle, which I will post down below. And I will also I'll just post everything that needs to be posted. This will be up tonight, and
No
the
worries.
video tomorrow.
Good
And
stuff.
that's Irish